top 10 hottest comic books of the week based off of Cover Price's data. That's right. Cover Price releases a top 10 list each and every week on a Monday. Our shows are live every Friday. We like to dive into this list, take a look at the top 10 really quickly, but then Chris gives his top 3 most interesting picks from each week. Dives in and gives the reasons why. What's up?
And let me interrupt you real quick, Jeff. And I'm telling you guys, this is what I hope everyone is sticking around, because I'm telling you, we're going to get into this like we never have before on Comic Book Canon.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Okay. You heard it here. And we got Joel here to add a little flavor as well. So, all right. Each and every week, Chris will dish out his top 3 most interesting picks out of this top 10 list. So guys, let's just get into it, shall we? Like top 10 right now. How about it? Here we go. All right. At number 10, we have Star Wars, Canon the Last Padawan, number 1. Number 9, we have Captain America, number 25. We already discussed that book. We know why. Sam Wilson becomes Captain America in that issue. Haha, number 1 from Image. This one is an interesting one. Creepy clowns. At number 7, we have Star Wars, The High Republic, number 1, the Stephanie Hans variant. That seems to be the cover of choice for people. However, it's bumped down to number 7. It was, top 5 the last few weeks. At number 6, we have Avengers number 1, Marvel 2010. That is the John Romita Jr. I'm not sure who the writer was on that. At number 5, we have Star Wars, The High Republic number 1, the A cover. Number 4, we have Future State, Teen Titans number 1. At number 3, we have Star Wars, Dr. Aphra, number 7. At number 2, we have Slingers, number 0. And at number 1, we have Star Wars Dr. Aphra, number 7, the Jenny Frison variant, the 1 in 25. This one was hot, and really hard to find. So, guys, an interesting list this week. We got some DC. We got another DC book. Actually, that DC book was number 1 last week, the Teen Titans, and an Image book. But Chris, you got some words about what's going on this week with this this top 10 list.
It's crazy, and this is what I love about this. You look at your standard top 10s, and and I'm not knocking it. This is just you look for, why are they hot? What are they selling for? How many? What's the speculation around them? This is so unique, and that I like to pick books for other reasons. I need to get me some water in before I go on because I'm going to be talking a lot here.
Everybody, I hope you're all sitting down.
I'm ready to go. Number 3, Slingers number 0. All right, you guys, sit down at your desk and chair. Class is in session because there's a lot to take in, so take your notes. Slingers number 0. This is a Wizard exclusive that was a free book. Do we call this a previews? Question mark, and hold that thought. All right. This is what's going on with this book and why it's been hot. Unconfirmed rumors of a Sony property involving the character Dusk. Reported by Screen Rant from source Illuminati. Now, again, rumor here. We got Screen Rant, which is a solid source. And Illuminati seems to be one of those rumor sources that, you kind of think that there's could be some validity there, right? So that's what I'm going to say about that. Now, this was a Wizard preview, so to say, but it was a free solicitation that contains issue 0 of the character Dusk, who first appeared in Peter Parker Spider-Man number 91, but as Spider-Man. Basically, Peter Parker wore the suit of Dusk and took on the mantle because during the Identity Crisis storyline, Peter Parker was accused of murdering some nickel and dimer named Joey Z, right? And he was framed by Norman Osborn, none other than Norman Osborn, right? So Peter took on the identity of a few different characters, so he wouldn't be, made by the authorities and whatnot. Dusk was one of them. But Dusk is merely a suit. There is the Dusk suit came from the Negative Zone. It was basically a mantle that a lot of different heroes wore. So it was passed to Peter Parker. He wore it for the reasons I just stated. And then Peter Parker passed it on, and it ended up in the hands of a woman named Cassie St. Commons, who is the Dusk that shows up in this book, Slingers number 0. All right, check this out. We're just going to do a little statistics here. This book had a high raw sold for $35 this week, guys. So there's something to argue about here, because the next appearance is in Slingers #1, right? Which is a standard issued publication that you paid cover price for. All right, that was hitting your new comic book day shelves. Is this comic book a previews, or is it actually a publication that is considered a comic, even though it was free? I think that's where, because we have a lot, you know, we have the Marvel's previews 95 with Miles Morales and all the hype around that. And here's what I say. People can value what they want to value. And if they want to pay thousands of dollars because a character showed up in an ad or a previews in some other book or throwaway magazine that's merely a solicitation or an advertisement, that's fine. But calling it the first appearance is wrong. It's the first time that they appear, but we have to add the proper context in advertisement, in preview solicitation, but it's not a first appearance in continuity. It's not first appearance in comic book. This one, though, is like, what is it? Is it a previews or is it a comic book? So it just makes this one really interesting. There's already so much crazy history around this character, but it is, you know, I was reading about the possible Sony property. It does look like, if there's any truth to it, it would be the Cassie St. Commons character. And it is something that I think would make for a really awesome story if done right. So look, at the end of the day, I'm going to say this, because it's an issue 0 that actually has a story that actually continues in issue #1. Even though it was free, I'm going to call it a first appearance. And why? Look at Free Comic Book Day books. Look at that whole issue with Virus. Yeah. Look, you know, we know that it's a free book, but it is, and he has it right there. Yes. So,
I've got many, man. I've got a lot. I've got a lot.
It's cold up in Canada, right? You got to use that for your fireplace or something.
Oh, man. I'm going to make a stand here and say I am going to consider this a comic book publication. So therefore, I'm going to hop on the train of calling this Dusk as Cassie St. Commons first appearance.
Yeah. Crypt, I think
that's enough, right?
And I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but just going back to a comment I made about, I forget what book, but, you know, just talking about the different ways people collect and like what's hot. I think it's funny how in the last 6 months to 8 months, this whole previews thing, right? It's taken up. Like, you know, I remember, like, you know, it happened with Virus, it happened with Firepower, there were so many titles in 2020 that had happened that people were just getting sick. And then for whatever reason, I think it was like September, October, people were like, no, these are in now. This is hot. And it's just like, then we get issues like we just got with that Miles book, and it's kind of, you know, it feels like it's ending, but, you know, some people still collect that way and believe previews are the thing. So, yeah.
I don't know. To go to your point, though, Joel, it's the Firepower issue, the Spider-Man Virus issue. Those were stories. Yeah. The Miles one, what is it? Preview Marvel 95 or whatever it is. That's insane. Yeah. That's going for thousands of dollars. Like, are you serious? That's insane. And I don't understand that, and I don't know if that's going to last.
Yeah. Do you guys know the Journal? A lot of people, and I'm a Venom guy, pre this virus, and, you know, I know now you say, yeah, you're a Venom fan, and people are like, yeah, obviously. And you guys remember, I think it's like 168. I could be wrong on the number, but it's that journal, that comic journal. And it's supposedly, you know, the people that have it, that's the first appearance of Venom. And why? Well, it's because it's got like a little ad of just a black Spider-Man suit. And people are like, no, that's the book. That's the book. And it's like, well, like, no, I mean, the black suit is there, but is it in a story? Is it a comic?
Yeah. And look, we're really talking about two different things here. We're talking about what we want to value as collectors, and we're talking about labels. Two different things. And that's the problem. People don't want to separate those two things. Like I said, look, man, I mean, I can value, I can value, say it's like 30 years from now, and this is a retro controller from Xbox, I can value it. If I want it so bad, I can pay hundreds of dollars for it. Yeah. I mean, I can value a couch cushion. You know, like seriously, like I can find value in a couch cushion if I wanted to, for some reason, wanted to collect it so bad, I could pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for a couch cushion. So I have no problem with people valuing anything. I mean, Beanie Babies were valued once upon a time, right? So my thing is, if people want to value a previews book or a Daredevil 115 because it has a little ad of Wolverine's first appearance, that's fine. But you can't change the context of the labels.
Yeah.
But I think going back to the fun thing about this book, though, is it's kind of, you know, it's not, it is like you were saying, Jeff, it's actually a comic book. It's a story that is a comic book. Yeah. It's not just an ad or a one-page preview of something to come.
No, definitely. And yeah, we could devote a whole segment to this, but I think that's the important thing. If there's a story there, there's something there. Perfect example, again, is the Firepower or the Spider-Man free comic book day, both of those free comic book days. So anyways, all right, moving on, Chris, you got another book that you would like to talk about. This is your second book out of the top 10. What do you got?
Yeah. My number 2 pick is, this is really a lot of fun for me to talk about this because I'm all for the Star Wars mania, and that's Dr. Aphra number 7. I mean, we had the standard cover and we had the variant cover, you know, which hit number 1. But I mean, just talking about the book in general, looking at the numbers of the standard cover, it had a high raw online of $15 the week it released. And here's the thing: there's no spec on this book specifically, but the character is hot because we're specking that we're going to see this character in live action in some way, you know, Disney Plus or something, right? Just because of everything going on with Star Wars. I love that. I absolutely love that. It means that people are just buying into Star Wars. We've talked about that in weeks past. But here's a really interesting thing that I think maybe a lot of collectors don't pay attention to. And that's that, you know, retailers, and I actually talked about this on my show today. Retailers have to fulfill their order months in advance. And sometimes they can't gauge when a book is going to get hot necessarily, whether it's because of spec value or because somebody's enjoying the story or there's just so much Star Wars love right now and more people start buying it. So that shows other things that can drive fair market value other than speculation, right? And like I said, there's a bit of speculation, but I think people are just wanting to pick up Dr. Aphra. And if they can't find it at their LCS, they're willing to go on eBay or online on the secondary market and pay $10, $15, $20 for books like these. But this brings me to a point that I wanted to bring up surrounding these types of situations. Why are people not utilizing pull lists or purchasing via pre-order and previews rather than resorting to the second market where they are willing to pay a higher premium, right? So to me, I go back to those collectors that get fickle, right? About, everyone's speculating on this book and I didn't have it in my pull list and I didn't buy it via previews, but I went to the store and wanted to buy it because now it's hot. There's 2 things going on here. There's the opportunity that you could have had of putting it on your pull list or your previews order. And then there are those people that accept the fact that they didn't do that. And they're willing to pay a premium after the fact. And I want to say, I dig those collectors. For a collector that can admit that they probably weren't into Star Wars before the hype, they probably weren't into Dr. Aphra until there was some speculation that she might show up on a Disney Plus show. They're willing to admit that and willing to say, I never had Star Wars on my previews list, but guess what? I missed the ability to do a previews order, put on my pull list. So, hey, I'm going to go on eBay and I'm going to pay $15 for it.
That's me. Like, honestly, man, and I've been enjoying it. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I've always loved Star Wars, right? I have always loved Star Wars ever since I was a little kid. I've never collected the Star Wars comic books up until now. Like, this new Darth Vader series is fantastic. It's fantastic. So I am one of those people, and I've paid a premium for that. But if you've already known about it and you don't have it in your pull list, that's on you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get sick of this conversation. It's just all these people want, bitching and whining about, oh, I missed out because of all these speculators. Well, you have the exact same information or access to the information that they do. You have no excuse.
Yeah, I think it's funny because people will watch like FOC shows, right? And then it's like, yeah, you guys should order this, and then it comes to it, and I see the exact same people being like, oh man, I missed that, and I just want to be like, man, you were on the FOC show. They told you to go. Like what do you mean?
No excuse.
Like it's everywhere. You know what I mean? That's the thing that I don't understand. Like, same with perfect example. I will always admit, I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy, but that second print of High Republic, like you knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming out. Yeah.
No, I missed it. Oh no, and they're willing to pay, man. Like I sold a copy for $30 Canadian, and
you made your money back.
And that was it. That was the money that I spent on the books for this week. So. Yeah, got to take advantage of the pull list, man.
Yeah, and that's the best way to do it. Is like have your hobby pay for itself too. And if you're not taking advantage of anything, you're just a passionate collector. Why not have it pay for itself? Because you have the knowledge and you're using it.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is another topic we could take all show to discuss, but we don't have time for that because we are going to get to the number one most interesting book that Chris found on this top 10 list. Chris, go for it.
All right, and I told you guys, see, each one of these very, very, unique topics that I told you we were going to dive into, but none is big as this one, guys. This book has so much, and it's almost like on the flip side of what we just talked about with Star Wars. But let's bring up the book and let's talk about it. This is going to get controversial. My number one pick, guys, is Avengers #1 from 2010. And Jeff, I do believe that's Brian Michael Bendis. You were asking earlier.
It's Romita and Bendis. Yeah, Romita and Bendis.
So this book is the first appearance of Azari, son of T'Challa in Storm. This book got hot just this last week. And the reason why blows my mind. All right. Now, I really, guys, I want you to listen to this and I want you to take it all in. I want you to take this all in. I first want to state this. I am absolutely not a hater of speculation. I love it. Even though I don't flip books, I'm not mad at flippers. It's part of the hobby. I'm a businessman. I respect the business at all levels, right? But I'm telling you guys, the reason why this book is hot blows my mind. Let's go into it. First appearance of Azari, son of T'Challa and Storm, like I said. This book got hot because of quote-unquote unconfirmed rumors. All right? Check this out. I believe we have an image, Jeff, that we can bring up on screen here.
We do indeed.
All right. This image is the listing of this book on your favorite app, Key Collector Comics. Now, let me add a little context. I'm not a hater of Key Collector Comics, but I have issues with some of the things that they do, but I want them to succeed. I never am here to blackball anyone. I don't buy into conspiracy theories. This is not about conspiracy theories, so don't get it twisted. This is about this one incident and this one incident only. All right? This says nothing else but that. But let's look at what this book says here. It gives them the details. Maria Hill joins the Avengers, yada, yada, yada. First cameo team appearance of the next Avengers. And it says that it's the first appearance of the son of T'Challa in Storm. But look what it also says, guys. It says January 2021. Speculation from Jim Comics that Azari could take up the mantle of T'Challa in Black Panther 2. All right. Let me repeat that, guys. Speculation from Jim Comics says that Azari could take up the mantle of T'Challa in Black Panther Black Panther 2. Let me tell you why this blows my mind, guys. Jim Comics, he's a YouTuber, for those that don't know. He has about 10,000 subscribers. That's great. I'm subscribed to Jim Comics, and if Jim ever sees this or he's watching, I appreciate you, Jim. This is not against you. I appreciate what you do. Jim is actually, I watch his videos. He's a really nice guy. He just seems like a totally nice guy. I think he might be a fellow Canadian newbie.
Okay.
And most Canadians are just really nice people. But and he's got a following. He does like one video a week where he goes over his pickups and he talks about why he picked them up and why books might get hot. I watched this video. I watched the video that he did. All right. He did the video on January 17th where he said, I picked up this book. He actually didn't even pick up Avengers #1. He picked up Avengers #6, which is the first full appearance of Azari. But he talked about why he thought, hey, who knows? They could bring him into, Black Panther 2 and have a pick up the mantle. I don't know. It's something that they could do. There's so many options that they could do. And he was just a collector doing his thing on YouTube, saying what he could say about what he thinks can happen. Let me tell you guys something. I do that a lot myself. I talked about Astonishing Tales #6, the first time Dr. Doom meets Black Panther. And I'm like, hey, I'm looking at this book because this might happen in the MCU. Do you know if Key Collector app watched my video and then went into his listing of Astonishing Tales #6 and said, rumor from Jerno's comics that Dr. Doom could show up in Black Panther 2, and that book boomed? Look, I mean, to some degree, I would feel honored, maybe, well, thanks for acknowledging my opinion, but no, who am I? Dude, I'm nobody. I'm a YouTuber. I don't know shit. I'm just enjoying what I love, and I'm like, hey, this might happen. I'm sure Jim Comics feels the same way. Why do I care what he says? This is let me explain to you. Let me tone it down, guys. Let me explain to you why this is a problem. Look at what happened. Jim Comics did this video on January 17th. This is a book that if you go through the online sales, this book sold maybe a few books every month for $2 or $3, right? Cover price, whatever. On January 7th, after Jim Comics uploaded that video and said, hey, I bought the book, if you can find it for cheap. I do that all the time. On January 17th, there was 12 sales of this book. They all sold for around cover price. $2, $3, $4 maybe. So what does that show you? It shows that Jim Comics has a following. He got 5,000 views on that video. And it shows that, hey, Jim Comics is talking about it. That's a cool idea. Why not? Perfectly fine. They're paying $2, $3, $4 for a book. Okay. January 18th and 19th happened. All right. 18 books sold then for around cover price. Now, I don't know when Key Collector put this information on their app, but I'm going to assume that it was probably either midday or late January 19th, because at the end of day January 19th and into January 20th, when January 20th hit, this book started selling for $20+, hitting a high raw, and these are all raw, by the way, hitting a high raw sale of $58 the next day on January 21st. Okay, so let me explain to you why this is a problem, but not the problem that you may think. I'm not sitting here and saying that people paying this type of money is bad. I'm not even sitting here saying that people, it goes to show one thing, guys. One thing it goes to show is the power of Key Collector. And remember I say, ironically, cliche, with great power comes great responsibility. It shows the power of Key Collector. Let's look at what I just said. Jim Comics as a YouTuber has power, right? Because you can correlate. There's a correlation between the amount of sales once Jim Comics started talking about that. But you know what else happened? The value of the book didn't really go anywhere. But when Key Collector app stated it, what happened to the value of the book? It shot up like sixfold to even more than that with the 58 high. What does that show you? It shows you that people, and this isn't Key Collector's fault. Don't get it twisted. This is not Key Collector's fault. They're just running a business. But it goes to show you that collectors that use Key Collector will cling to everything they say, almost like as a cultism, almost like they're a cult. They follow everything they say so much that they will disregard the fact that this book is selling for $3 or $4 and they'll pay $20 for it. That's not manipulating the market. It's not. It's natural. It's from people like gambling, having a gambling addiction, and they're not even thinking about their actions. It's reactionary. And it changes the fair market value of books on the market. It's not bloated. It's not false. It's not manipulation. It's real. It's natural. It's organic still. But I'm giving you the variables of how and why it's happening. That's not Key Collector's fault. It's the collector's fault. It's the people buying these books at these prices' fault. And you can't blame anyone. It's a free market. But let me tell you where I have a problem with Key Collector. And it goes back to the fact that they took a and it's not even Comic Tom. If it was Comic Tom, maybe it would still though. But here's the thing. People give Comic Tom so much crap, but he reports the news after the fact. After it's on Key Collector or after. Jim Comics is a YouTuber with 10,000 subscribers that is just telling you why he picked it up and why he thinks it might show up in the MCU. And a powerful app, powerful business like Key Collector uses that as a citation. That is bad business. Because Jeff, I'm gonna bring you in here. We don't report on rumors unless we have some kind of feasible, credible source. I mean, look, I think that, we've been doing the show since how many episodes? Almost 40 episodes. There may have been twice where we talked about something that wasn't officially confirmed, but if we talked about it, it was from at least an insider that is usually accurate, like Mikey Sutton.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, yeah, you know, in journalism, you want two sources to be able to go forward with anything, right?
Right.
So we don't like to talk and speculate and all that in terms of any kind of news. And this is go ahead.
Right. So you get an app like Key Collector that is having the power of a database and is bringing in some random guys. Oh yeah, he may show up. My freaking right foot might show up in the MCU, and the Key Collector's gonna put that in. Like, come on!
I mean, it's really bad. That's really bad.
That's bad. That's bad. And like I said, this isn't. And look, I did realize that. I think they have a sponsorship. Like, there's a Jim Comics code, so maybe Key Collector's thinking that they're scratching his back. I'm telling you right now, Key Collector, Nick. This is the thing. If you're watching this. Anybody that's affiliates, I respect all you guys. Comic Tom, I respect you. Jim, I respect you. Russ, I have much respect for you. Somebody's got to talk to Nick because I care about Nick and I care about his business. I do. I want Key Collector app to succeed. I want us to be able to trust it. I want us all to be able to utilize it. This is bad business. It's bad. And I just got to say that. I'll end it on this. Key Collector should not be citing any type of speculative sources unless it is confirmed source. Period.
Yeah, I agree.
Or I'll say one more thing.
Go for it.
If there's a popular opinion in a hobby and they cite it as such, that's fine too. Like, I remember them saying about the Black Winter, they said it wasn't them driving it. They said the Silver Surfer Black book. This book has gotten hot because there was talk that collectors might think that it's a cameo of Black Winter, even though the author and the artist denied it. So, like, that's kind of riding a fine line, but at least they're citing it like, is such, but they are giving a YouTuber the power of a credible source, and it isn't that whatsoever.
Yeah, agreed. That's well laid out and 100%. It's all valid, and I have to highlight this as the comment of the night from Swaggle House Comics and Games. Jim's Comics is the Reddit Wall Street bets of comic spec. But in all seriousness, it does bring up a question of what Key Collector actually is. Is it a spec blog app or is it a comic news app? And that's a good point. But no matter what, it holds that kind of weight and it kind of affects the market with things like this. This is just ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Joel, I want your kind of input on this as well.
I've kind of had my things with Nick. I think I've been vocal. I don't subscribe to the app. I find other ways, reading books and things like that. I'm more old school anyway, so the Silver Age and Bronze, I kind of know what I'm looking for and things. With Nick, like that last comment you brought up, I mean, it's important to know what it actually is. Is it a blog or is it a comic news? I mean, I've sent Nick a few specs and a few things that he didn't have on the app, and I said, hey man, this stuff's up there, and he just said, no man, it's not worthy of it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. He shot me down, so I've been posting my things. The Venom stuff, he didn't put it up. Didn't get credit. We weren't looking for credit, but just one of those things. There's been a bunch of secret variants, a bunch of news, a bunch of books that he doesn't have on there, and we were just trying to inform the community of like, hey, these books are out there, kind of thing. I don't know, man. I'm with Chris, to be honest with you. He knows how I feel. We talked about this backstage a few times when he was on my show. We talked about it. Yeah. Some people love that app. I just think that there should be some responsibility as well when the wrong information is out there. I think if people are paying to it and you're putting information out there, I think it's your responsibility to say, hey, guys, you know what? My bad. That is not right. I'll erase it. I'll whatever. And that's the issue I have with it personally.
I want some context here too, because I want everyone watching to ponder this as well. Think about this. Think about this happening. What's the chances of this happening? How can, first off, now, and I want to relate back to Wanda's and Vision's kids of how they can actually bring them in because there's magic there and there's all these things there. But that's not, this is Black Panther. We know T'Challa's gone. We know that T'Challa had a love interest that was not Storm. Storm is not there. So are they really going to bring a love child? Like they're going to is it a love child that they already kind of did? Like there was already this distant relative that nobody knew about, right?
Yeah.
Killmonger. So what are they going to bring in a son that T'Challa didn't know about that was Storm's child and then make him take honestly, Jim Comics, look, hey, I would like to have that book just because maybe later, 20 years down the line, it might work. There's really no feasibility in them working this in unless it was an alternate dimension from the multiverse where T'Challa is still alive. But look, they're not recasting Chadwick Boseman, so there can't be T'Challa in an alternate universe because he's not going to exist in the MCU. It makes so if I was Nick or Key Collector and I'm looking at this, it's like, are you not thinking about these things before you put it on your app? It blows my mind. NEWBIE. I'm sorry. I want to go to your point too. Go Collect. Go Collect does a good job of being, they're more than one thing. They're a database.
Yeah.
And they also have a blog source. And in their blog source, they have a lot of employees and authors and freelance authors that talk up speculation. But it is not labeled on the books in their database. Now, Key Collector either has to figure out if they're a database, because if you go to their, I got it up right here. You guys can see, what's it say? What's it say when you go to their website? Like the best database for the world's most comprehensive database and price guide. Okay. They are declaring themselves as a database. If that's the case, then they cannot, this can't happen. If you want to be what were some of the terms you guys just called it? If you want to be a speculation source, call it that. Because a database is one thing: data.
Yeah.
Raw, factual data. This is not raw data. This is just freaking, like I said, this is my right foot and people getting excited of it just because Key Collector said it to be so. And again, it bothers me that this is somebody that they have some type of sponsorship with. And again, I'm not I'm leaving it at that. I don't buy into the conspiracy theories. But I'm not mad at people thinking that there are conspiracy theories when stuff like this happens. Like, what else are we supposed to think? Why are we doing this? Why are we hyping this book up? And again, is it just to scratch Jim Comics' back? Or is it for other reasons? Or is it simply because Nick or whoever's running Key Collector is such a geeked out collector that he's a bad businessman because he can't differentiate when he wants to geek out on something or he wants to be a businessman. Because if it's just Nick geeking out as a watching Jim Comics, being a fan, and he wants to bring it over to his app, he can't do that. He cannot do that.
I don't think I can't. Here's the thing. I think Key Collector is good for the industry as a whole. I do. I think it's good for our hobby, right? But I see your point. There's a gray area. It's not. What is it? But at the same time, no matter what it is or isn't, it holds weight in the actions that they take, right? And the actions Nick or that app or whoever else is running that app, their actions take weight, and there is an effect to any actions that they do make. And I don't know if it's that they're ignorant to that or they don't care, but it's one of the two. It's one of the two. And I would love to know what that is because, Chris, you've called him out many times and have gotten an unacceptable response on the Punisher's second appearance. Right?
I do want to make it known, right? And this is about specifics, about labels and my issues with some of the labels. I reached out to him.
NEWBIE talks the same thing. He said the same thing. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Well, he responded to me once, and I appreciated that because I'm nobody. He doesn't need to respond to me, but he did. And I felt like it was more like excuses of why. And I responded back asking him questions because I wanted to know, like you just said, is it because of this or this? It's one of the two. I want to know why. I want to understand the business. And he never responded. But he answered the questions in a roundabout way on a Instagram post trying to get his followers, I'm assuming, to buy into why he's doing what he's doing. And look, here's again, this is my, I did a live stream talking about my issues, but wanting to clarify that I'm not in the screw Comic Tom and Nick. I'm not on that bus. So I did a live stream clearing that air. I said, this is not being toxic. I'm not with this toxic crowd that just wants to point fingers at people. And Comic Tom showed up in the chat and said, I respect what you're doing, and I appreciated that. So I'm going to reiterate one more time. I am not saying, we're not discussing this right now to blackball Nick or to say that Nick is a bad person. But as collectors, the lack of transparency and what seems to be a lack of responsibility is very apparent here. And we just want to know why. Because, and I say this, I want Nick to take heed to this so he can not look. Even Rome fell. Even big successful businesses get too greedy and cocky and don't understand their customer base and don't understand the market, and it bites them in the ass in the long run. I don't want people to get jaded by Key Collector to where 5 years from now they're pulling out of Key Collector. I want Nick and Key Collector to be around for years to come. They're only 3.5 years old. I want that for him. But I think in order for him to better his business, he needs to open his ears more to the community. But I also give him a bit of leeway because I know there's a lot of people out there that will never give him credit. They'll just, they'll pick up the pitchforks and crucify him no matter what he does.
Yeah.
And that's why I need to separate myself. I'm not them. But Nick, I am somebody that really, I'm a businessman and a lover of this hobby. I want you to understand that you got to look at your business model and realize, for the sake of you and your consumer base, I think that there are changes that you can make, and I think you can evolve your platform to better everyone, including yourself and your bottom line.
Well said. I think that ties a knot on this whole thing. Again, I think it's good for the comic industry, but needs to clear a lot of things up. Okay, well, that's our top 10 hottest comics of the week.